Hello there, very good evening and a warm welcome to the news live on Rupavahini Channel I. I'm Sharon Mascarenhas.
And I'm Lakshita Edirisinghe.
On behalf of the entire news team from Rupavahini to Channel I, we'd like to wish all our viewers a very happy, peaceful and a prosperous Sinhala and Tamil New Year. But however, as you sit back and watch the news today on your television, wherever you are, it's somewhat historical, isn't it, Lakshita?
I agree with you, Sharon. This year might feel a bit different than the other years. And while we celebrate the new year right here from the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, and while you celebrate the festivities in the comfort of your homes, there are thousands of individuals who are out there putting their lives at risk, even as we speak, to ensure that we are safe. So today we thought we'd start off on a different note by extending our gratitude and appreciation to those frontline workers. And so, firstly, we bring you the story that the doctors were engaged in duties today at the IDH, despite the fact that today is the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. Dr. Ananda Bevikrama said that they have visited and inspected corona patients in hospitals. He also requested the general public to fulfill their responsibilities at home. The physician further said that in this manner the country will be able to prevent the spread of the pandemic. Dr. Hasit Attanayaka said that they were compelled to make commitment on behalf of the country. Accordingly, all physicians remain 24 hours of the day in hospitals to treat the patients. He said that they are fulfilling their responsibilities on behalf of the country. The doctor has also requested all to celebrate the new year only with family members. He added that all will be able to overcome the challenges and to build a new country.
While we commend the services of the frontline staff of the healthcare sector, we also bring you stories and features generally from the National Hospital. However, this year, regarding the stories that we brought to you before was regarding the firecrackers or accidents that took place on the road. This year, our attention has been focused on the National Infectious Diseases Hospital in Angoda. And now this is due to the spread of the coronavirus disease due to the negligence of a group. We went to the hospital to inquire how the hospital staff engaged in duties during the Sinhala and Tamil New Year to cure the corona patients. A staff of 600, including doctors, are fighting to save the lives of more than 600 corona patients at the IDH hospital. They are not able to join their families to celebrate the New Year. They will be allowed to have contacts with their closest associates only after a 21-day quarantine period. We make an appeal from the people to fulfill their responsibilities at a time when the entire medical staff is engaged in an enormous service on behalf of the entire nation. Staff of the IDH hospital said that they are engaged in services on behalf of the people. They also request the people to celebrate the New Year at home. The staff further said that they are unable to go to their homes as they are committed to 24-hour service. They further said that their aim is to cure all corona patients. They further said that if the people adhere to the health advice, all will be able to go home. More stories coming up, but here's a look at our headlines for today.
The Sinhala and Tamil New Year has dawned. The auspicious time for cooking meals is at 10:05 p.m. and partaking of meals at 10:43 p.m. The President and the Prime Minister extend best wishes for peace, happiness and prosperity as well as good health in the new year. The number of corona patients increases to 214. The period granted for engaging in work from homes has been extended until the 20th of April. 900,000 kilograms of vegetables are being purchased under the government's program to buy farm produce. The general election of South Korea is on next Wednesday. On to those and other stories in detail. Now, the government says that the period granted for the state and private institutions to engage in duties from homes has been extended till Monday the 20th of this month. It has also been pointed out that schools are scheduled to be reopened on the 11th of next month. A communique issued by the Presidential Media Division today also states that students have been provided distance education facilities. The curfew currently imposed in the districts of Colombo, Gampaha, Kalutara, Putlam, Kandy and Jaffna, identified as high-risk areas, will continue to be enforced until further notice. In all other districts, the existing curfew has been extended till 6 a.m. on Thursday, the 16th of this month. However, the curfew will be reimposed in these districts at 4 p.m. on the same day. The government requests the people to bear the difficulties encountered with understanding and responsibility, as the measures have been taken mainly in the interest of the general public. The government also reiterates to purchase only essential items and to refrain from engaging in unnecessary travel. The government has also made all arrangements to provide essential food items and other commodities to the doorsteps of residences of the people during the curfew period. The communique also points out that permission has been granted to all those who are engaged in cultivation activities, export crop production, tea small holdings as well as the fishing industry to carry out work without obstructions in all districts during curfew. It is prohibited to travel in between districts other than for engaging in essential services. The law is being imposed sternly against those who misuse these rules. The government has also decided to continuously consider the villages in whatever districts named as isolated villages. The Presidential Media Division communique adds that it is totally forbidden for any person to either enter or leave any such isolated village until further notice.
The Sinhala and Tamil New Year dawned at 8:23 p.m. The State Nakat Committee has prepared the New Year Nakat rituals for the New Year of this year. The Ministry of Cultural and Religious Affairs requests the people not to go out of their residences, taking into consideration of the existing situation, but to engage in New Year rituals between family members. A request has also been made to refrain from organizing ceremonies as well. The Punya Kalaya, or the period to engage in religious observances, has commenced at 1:59 p.m. today and will continue till 2:47 a.m. tomorrow. The Nakat Seat Tour has pointed out that it is appropriate to consume meals and disassociate from all work prior to 1:59 p.m. on the 13th and to engage in religious activities. During the Punya Kalaya, those who engage in New Year rituals visit temples for the purposes of veneration. However, under the existing circumstances, the people will engage in religious observances only at home. The sacred areas of the Jayashri, Mahabodhi and Atmasthanya were entirely deserted today. The auspicious time for cooking falls at 10:05 p.m. tonight. It is appropriate to light the hearth, clad in white-coloured clothes, facing the eastern direction, and to prepare milk rice and agala mixed with gingerly seeds. The nakata for engaging in work, transactions and partaking of meals falls at 10:43 p.m. tonight. It is most appropriate to engage in these rituals dressed in white clothes facing the eastern direction. The auspicious time for oil anointing is at 9:17 a.m. on the 15th of this month. Those who engage in rituals should dress in green-colored clothing and bathe using juice of korma leaves facing east. The Nakata for leaving for employment falls at 7:56 a.m. on the 17th of this month. The Nakata for planting is at 11:30 a.m. on Sunday, the April 19th. This should be done dressed in copper-colored clothes facing the south. The Nakata Seat adds that it is appropriate to look for the new moon in the solar new year on the 26th of April.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa wishes peace, happiness and prosperity to all Sri Lankans in the Sinhala and Tamil New Year, the most splendid cultural festival of the nation. The President, issuing a special message in connection with the ceremony, has also expressed wishes for the dawn of a healthy period for the country. Due to the unexpected spread of a disease-causing germ, the country along with the world is faced with a disaster unheard since the times of our forefathers. The President also calls upon the people to maintain social distancing during festive season to prevent the spread of the disease agent. Sri Lankans are people who voluntarily assembled to face any challenge posed against the country and the people. The Sinhala and Tamil New Year season is a period for the human beings to venerate the environment and the natural beauty. We are living in a time of imperative need to link with the environment. The President further points out it is appropriate on this occasion to restrict the observance of New Year rituals to the family, in contrary to the ancient tradition to share the joys of this momentous event with friends and relatives as well. He also says that true inheritors of New Year happiness are the small sons and daughters. The President also points out that we should allow them to enjoy the happiness in spite of restrictions imposed upon society. Therefore, he reminds people to remain in homes and to perform rituals and to allow children to feel the happiness of the great event. The President in his New Year message also points out the importance to include the firm determination among New Year wishers to overcome the pandemic threat that engulfs the people and the country. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa in his New Year message says that he believed that the meaning of the New Year could be preserved amidst health censorship and precautions. Greetings for the New Year has to be extended in front of a crucial situation. The New Year of this year has to be observed according to health advice and recommendations. All must remind that the laws imposed for the benefit of the general public will continue to be enforced during the New Year period as well. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa further says that the New Year also reflects unity and coexistence among ethnic groups. The integrity of the nation is reflected through the practice of commencing work in the same instance by the communities concerned. The Prime Minister also says that the value of national aspirations cultivated through unbroken traditions for thousands of years are being strongly felt today than ever before. The Sri Lankan nation is successfully confronting an epidemic which has made the entire world destitute. The Prime Minister in his message also requests all people to celebrate the New Year in a simple manner with expectation for peaceful times and to strengthen unity among all groups of people.
The Presidential Task Force on Provision of Essential Services says that 900,000 kilograms of vegetables have been purchased under the government's program to buy farm produce. The government says that all stocks of vegetables purchased have been distributed among all districts by midnight yesterday. The program is being implemented with the objective of providing relief to farmers who are unable to sell their harvest. Another aim is to provide fruits and vegetables without shortage to the consumers. The vegetable purchasing program was conducted in the past 2 days through supervision of the divisional secretaries. In addition, the Civil Defence Department was engaged in purchasing vegetables in the Anuradhapura district. The necessary funds have been issued by the Anuradhapura district secretary. By midnight yesterday, around 300,000 kilograms of vegetables were transported from Nuwara to the Special Economic Centre, and further 586,000 kilograms of vegetables from the Dambulla and Thamuttegama economic centres were transported to the relevant districts. The government has spent 28.7 million rupees for the transportation of more than 900,000 kilograms of vegetables. Most of the stocks were directed to Mathura, Colombo, Kalutara and Galle districts. Meanwhile, the respective local government institutes are responsible for the sale of the produce in the relevant areas at fair price. In some areas, philanthropists have come forward to distribute items free of charge among the general public. The Presidential Task Force on the Provision of Essential Services says that the farmers should not have to entertain any fears regarding the sale of produce and guarantees not to waste the stocks.
$750 dry food parcels worth 5,000 rupees each were distributed among women who had lost their husbands engaged in police service and also to those with special needs at police headquarters in Thimbirigasyaya, Colombo today. A representative of the World Muslim Union for Sri Lanka, Imran Jamaldeen, said at a time when the coronavirus is now taking over the world, the Sri Lankan government is engaged in a constructive campaign against coronavirus. On the eve of the New Year, dry food was served under the patronage of Rabidab or the World Muslim Union to encourage the police to fully cooperate with the government's agenda. Western Province Senior Superintendent of Police Deshabandhu Tennakon, businessman Salahuddin on behalf of the Mallikawatha Islamic Center, and Director of the station MTM Zaruk and several police officials were also present at the event.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health says that the number of corona victims have increased to 217. 4 more patients were confirmed as corona patients today. The 4 detected today were those undergoing quarantine at the Punani Quarantine Centre. They were the patients who had close contacts with the COVID-19 patient detected in Beruvilla recently. Only 7 corona-related deaths have been reported from Sri Lanka so far. 56 patients were fully cured and left the hospitals. 151 confirmed patients are still undergoing treatment at the IDH Angoda, Balikanda Base Hospital and the Colombo East Base Hospital in Mullairiyawa. Some patients are receiving treatment at the Iranavila Hospital as well. The Infectious Disease Division says that the highest number of patients have been reported from the districts of Colombo, Kalutara, Gampa and Puttalam. 14 districts have been identified as areas where corona patients remained. Specialist physician and Director General of Health Services Dr. Anil Jayasinghe says that they are working towards some control of the disease. However, they have come to know of corona patients every day. Most of the newly detected patients were those who had contacts with the first batch of patients. They are like segments of the chain. However, the physician added that they are still not able to see the end of the row, and he further said that the medical tests have been intensified. Yesterday alone, more than 500 tests were conducted. Patients are being admitted to the IDH as well. A fully fledged health staff is engaged in services throughout the country. Upon detection of a COVID-19 patient in Siduella, Jaila recently, 70 persons who had contacts with this patient were quarantined under 2 batches. 32 others were also quarantined today at the Nachikuda Naval Quarantine Center.
විසබීජ ශරීරගත නොවුනා යයි අපි තහවුරු කරගත්තාම උන් ඒ නිවෙස් වලට මුදා හැරීමේ ක්‍රියාවලිය ආරම්භ කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඔබ දන්නවා IDH රෝහලේ රෝගීන් ඇතුළත් වෙනවා වගේම විශාල සංඛ්‍යාවක් ප්‍රතිකාර ලැබලා මේ වන විට නිවෙස් බලා ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අපගේ රෝග නිවාරණ, නිරෝධායන සහ ප්‍රතිකාර ඒ වගේම පරීක්ෂණ සේවා ඒ සියලු ක්‍රියාන්විතයන් මේ අවස්ථාවේ දිවෙන පුරා ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා.
By today, 1,506 persons are undergoing quarantine at 17 centres island-wide. 14 of the centres are under the supervision of the Sri Lanka Army and the other 3 under the Sri Lanka Navy. 15 persons who have completed quarantine at the Galkanda Quarantine Centre in Singapore, Valikanda, have left for their homes today. They were Sri Lankans who arrived from Italy and South Korea. The Atalugama area in Bandaragama was declared as a fully isolated area following a detection of a corona patient on the 27th of this month. 20 persons who have had contacts with the patient were quarantined at the Sarvodaya Education Institute in the area. They have ended their quarantine and left for homes today. However, they will be subjected to a further 14 days self-quarantine. A group of persons from Pannila Beruvilla was sent for quarantine at the Punani Quarantine Centre. It has been confirmed that 4 of them were afflicted with the COVID-19 disease yesterday. Biotissue samples of the 14 other persons in the area were directed for testing at the Medical Research Institute through mediation of the physicians and staff of the Kalutara District Hospital. The Health Promotion Bureau says the number of confirmed COVID-19 patients have increased now to 217.
Meanwhile, China's northeastern border with Russia has become a front line in the fight against a resurgence of the coronavirus outbreak, as new daily cases rose to the highest in nearly 6 weeks, with more than 90% involving people coming from abroad.
China is turning its eye to its northeastern border with Russia in a bid to stamp out a possible second wave of coronavirus infections. It comes as the country's number of new daily cases rose to its highest in nearly 6 weeks, with more than 90% of those involving people coming from abroad. Half involved Chinese nationals returning from Russia's Far Eastern Federal District. Having largely stamped out domestic transmission, China has been slowly easing curbs on movement as it tries to get its economy back on track. But there are fears that a rise in imported cases could spark a second wave of the virus. A Chinese immigration official said the country has cut the number of people crossing its borders by 90% and has tried to stop all non-essential journeys. Chinese cities near the Russian frontier are tightening border controls and imposing stricter quarantine measures in response to the spike in cases. With the cities of Suifenhe and Harbin now mandating 28 days of quarantine as well as antibody testing for all arrivals from abroad.
Meanwhile, thousands of displaced Syrians have begun moving back to their homes in war-torn Idlib province, despite the risk of the renewed conflict, some driven by fear that the new coronavirus could wreak havoc on their cramped camps near the Turkish frontier.
The choices are grim for Syrian refugees. Either remain in tightly packed camps near the Turkish border, where the coronavirus could spread like wildfire, or return to the war zone they fled from in Idlib province. With a mattress and belongings piled high into the back of a truck, Syrian man Zakaria Shawish is one of the displaced who chose to take the winding road back into Syria.
The living spaces in the camp are overcrowded. We grew worried of diseases, so we decided to come back to our town. Thank God. We pray that we are safe here.
While the blossom is starting to flower in the countryside, the risk of renewed conflict looms. About 1 million Syrians fled Idlib and its surrounding countryside in northwest Syria over the past year, after Russian-backed government forces stepped up a campaign to retake the last rebel stronghold after 9 years of war. Fighting has calmed since March, when Turkey, which backs some groups opposed to Syria's President Bashar al-Assad, agreed to a ceasefire with Moscow. Since then, relief agencies estimate over 100,000 have returned to Aleppo and Idlib countryside. Syrian man Omar Mustafa is one of them.
We returned to our towns. We fled from the coronavirus. Our towns don't really have it. This is springtime. So in the village, the air is fresh and clean. It's quieter than the town. There are no crowds, no smoke. Yes, this is a remote area, and yes, it is dangerous. But there is nothing we can do about that.
Syria's northwest does not have a confirmed case of coronavirus, but doctors fear the area's ravaged medical infrastructure would quickly turn any outbreak into a humanitarian disaster.
And we turn towards a story from Brazil. When 97-year-old Brazilian Gina Del Coleto was hospitalized on the 1st of April with coronavirus symptoms, few could have thought she would survive the deadly virus. However, yesterday she was pushed in a wheelchair out of a Sao Paulo hospital to applause.
When 97-year-old Brazilian Gina Del Coleto was hospitalized on April 1st with coronavirus symptoms, few could have thought she would survive the deadly virus. On Sunday, however, Del Coleto was pushed in a wheelchair out of a Sao Paulo hospital to applause, becoming the oldest known survivor of COVID-19 in Brazil, the Latin American country worst hit by the outbreak. Her unexpected recovery was a ray of hope in the country, where the coronavirus has laid bare a stretched public health system and exposed fierce political debate over how best to tackle the virus's spread and prop up its economy. On Sunday, Brazil's health ministry said at least 1,200 people had died as a result of the outbreak, with over 22,000 confirmed cases. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has chafed at social distancing measures imposed by state governors and even his own health officials. Instead, he wants the economy restarted, arguing that extended shutdowns pose a greater risk than a disease he calls a little cold.
And back at home, the final rites of the 7th Archbishop of Colombo and the 1st Diocese Archbishop, His Eminence Right Reverend Dr. Nicholas Marcus Fernando, took place at the St. Mary's Church, Main Street, Negombo, with full state honours. Right Reverend Dr. Nicholas Marcus Fernando, who rendered a significant service to the Catholic community, held the post of Archbishop of Colombo for a period of more than 25 years. He acted with great dedication to propagate the teachings of Lord Jesus Christ among the Sri Lankan Christian population with genuine spirituality. Archbishop His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith presided over the funeral ceremony in the presence of several bishops.
අපේ අතිඋතුම් නිකලස් මාකස් ප්‍රනාන්දු හිමිපාට ආසා කළා. ලංකාවේ
අධ්‍යාපන ශාස්ත්‍රයට කතෝලික දායකත්වය වඩාත් පුළුල්ව ලබා දීම සඳහා ආරම්භ කළ ශාඛා පාසල් විවෘත.
Prime Minister said that it was during his tenure that most of the branches of the schools which extended exclusive Catholic contribution to the education sector commenced. He has also taken measures to open a special theological faculty in Borella to teach Catholicism in Sinhala language. He also acted in close collaboration with the state administrators and was also in the forefront to create national unity. The Prime Minister also recalls how he was committed to encourage the struggle to withdraw Indian peacekeeping forces for Sri Lanka. He was functioning as the Archbishop during the crucial and challenging periods of repression 88-89 as well as during the period of Tiger terrorism. He was well versed in Sinhala, English as well as in Tamil languages.
වාර්ගික සාගමික සාමය සඳහා උන්වහන්සේ කටයුතු කළේ. සිංහල දෙමළ ඉංග්‍රීසි භාෂා තුන ඉතාම චතුර ලෙස හැසිරෙන උන්වහන්සේට තිබුණු හැකියාව මම හිතන්නේ මේ සියලු කටයුතු වලදී උන්වහන්සේට මහත් ලොකුලක් උනායි කියන එක මේ අවස්ථාවේ මතක් කරන්න ඕනේ.
A special feature has been conducting of the service with the participation of a restricted crowd, taking into consideration of the current situation. The President, issuing a message of condolence on the demise of Right Reverend Dr. Nicholas Marcus Fernando, said that the late Archbishop joins the saints who had committed to the entire lives for the spiritual and social enhancement of the Sri Lankan Catholic community. The President further said that he was extremely shocked by hearing the message of passing away of the late Archbishop of Colombo. He further said that the late Archbishop had given a new meaning to national religious revival and coexistence. The President, in his message, has wished eternal rest for the late prelate. The Mass Sangha and the Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa participated for the service.
The auspicious time of the Sinhala New Year to commence work falls at 10:43 p.m. tonight. Minister of Education Dallas Alahaperuma says students who are spending their vacation at home are able to commence writing books during the Nakath time. In a recent media briefing, Minister Dallas Alahaperuma has called on all school children to make use of their vacation and start writing a book. The Education Ministry has implemented a program to select the best creations of the students.
Meanwhile, Minister Bandula Gunawardena requests all to join together to create a prosperous new year by planting a tree. The Minister said, issuing a message on the New Year, has wished a prosperous and healthy New Year for all Sri Lankans. He also expressed wishes for all to have strength to overcome all challenges of the massive pandemic, which is the greatest threat faced by the world since the Second World War. Those who think anew should join with the family members to perform a single ritual at the same moment by planting in their homes with the wishes for a prosperous future.
Meanwhile, South Korean coronavirus patients cast their ballots at special early voting booths set up at major treatment centers on Saturday. The National Election Commission set up 8 polling stations for more than 3,000 coronavirus patients receiving treatment, as well as 900 medical staff at treatment centers in hard-hit areas ahead of the parliamentary elections scheduled for the 15th of April. Patients were able to vote on both Friday and Saturday, and officials hope that people across the country will also take advantage of early voting to reduce the numbers of voters on election day. All voters are required to wear a mask, use sanitizers and wear plastic gloves. The election could decide the control of Parliament and shape President Moon Jae-in's ability to implement his agenda in the final 2 years of his administration, including looser fiscal policies aimed at creating jobs, raising the minimum wage and continued re-engagement with North Korea. More news coming your way after this short break.